What is up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of Locked Up with David Matlock, the safe space for the sports nerd. So today we're going to be talking about my finals predictions, who I think the top contenders are, and yeah, let's hop right into it. All right, so according to Vegas Insider, the Lakers lead with a .275 odds to 100. Clippers plus 550, Bucks plus 550, Nets plus 600, Celtics plus 1300, and then the Heat at plus 1500, and who they believe are going to be the winners of the NBA this year. This is obviously a lot of faith put into Lakers because they are the defending champions. This is LeBron James. I think people doubted LeBron James, and they're just kind of being safe on their bets because it's hard to bet against the king. But I'm not as high on the Lakers as a lot of people are this year. I feel like everyone was like, oh, the Lakers got so much better because they added Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell. True. I mean, that pick and roll off the bench is going to be really nice, and I think that team is going to be very dangerous to face. I don't think anyone's going to want to face them. And in the regular season, it's going to help LeBron rest. It's going to help AD rest, and they're going to make sure that they're fresh for the playoffs. And going through with COVID and everything, your ability to field good guys, especially if the virus were to happen to hit your locker room, having the depth that they have is really good for this team. So their starting five is LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Dennis Schroeder, Contreras Caldwell-Pope, and then Marc Gasol. I think them losing JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard was not good. Those are two guys. There was a reason why people did not like playing the Lakers. I mean, one is LeBron. Two, the size of you having to play with JaVale at the 5, AD at the 4, LeBron at the 3, and then you can put whoever you want at the 1 and 2. That is a huge front court. That's enormous. I mean, and then you can go from having a long, lanky, strong JaVale McGee to having a brick wall in Dwight Howard. And letting AD, right? You could have JaVale and Dwight going at the same time, and those guys can get you easy buckets by putbacks, alley-oops. I mean, those are guys who are physical, just dogs. They are going to work in the paint, and I think they're going to miss that. And I love Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol was really good on the Grizzlies, but he's more of a finesse guy. He's not going to – and he's lost confidence in his shot. He's not – I mean, if you watched him at Toronto, he was scared to shoot threes. His three-point percentage dipped. He is not going to be the Marc Gasol of Memphis, where grit and grind, where he turned around hitting fadeaway jumpers. I don't think that's him anymore, and I think he knows that. So I think this team is going to see a decline in their defense. So the big pros, obviously, is LeBron. I mean, he's a pro anywhere. Shooting, they have a lot of shooting. Kuzma's improved with his shooting. Schroeder is an upgrade over Rondo in terms of shooting. Wes Matthews, they added him. He's also going to be a great shooter for them off the bench. And depth. Depth is huge this year. I think depth is probably one of the biggest factors for this season in the NBA. And then their cons, the drop in defense and physicality, just because Marc Gasol is not going to be able to be like a JaVale or a Dwight Howard for them on the inside. All right, so the Lakers, I think, I understand why they put them at number 1 overall. I have the Lakers as like my second favorite team. Moving to my third favorite team, I have the Clippers. And that starting five is going to be Kawhi, Paul George, Nicholas Batum, Pat Beverly, and Serge Ibaka. And I think this team has gotten a lot of flack for what happened against the Nuggets. Granted, that was a horrible playoff series, and they should have closed that out at Game 5. Like, the fact that they lost in the way that they did is embarrassing. I think the Clippers know that it was bad. So I think they're going to be playing with the chip on their shoulder, which I think would be a pro for them, is that they're going to come out with a different attitude than last year. Because last year, everyone was hyping up Kawhi. Kawhi had just moved to L.A. There was so much fanfare around them. And then Paul George those guys didn't play enough. There wasn't a great team chemistry going on there. But I think them adding Nicholas Batum and Serge Ibaka are two of the most underrated moves of the offseason, because Nicholas Batum was a guy, when he was at Portland, was one of the better wing defenders in the league. Like, this guy was great at the chase down block. He could get you threes. He's great on the perimeter. He's a long, lanky guy. And then Serge Ibaka is the quintessential pro. Like, he is a guy who can space the floor. He's going to defend the paint. And I just think he is just a solid guy for them to have. And it allows them to move Zubac to the bench so that he can be more of an energy guy, which I think is his best role anyways. I don't think he's a starter. And this is no offense to Zubac. I just think you need those guys who can just come in and give you energy off the bench and get those rebounds and those easy points, who can make free throws. And I think Harrell is a great guy off the bench if you don't necessarily need defense from your bench big guy. But I think Zubac plays better defense and he can make free throws, which Harrell was unplayable in that Nuggets series because Jokic was eating him alive, and then Harrell he could not make free throws. But looking at their bench, beyond that, they have Lou Williams, Luke Kennard, Patrick Patterson, and then Reggie Jackson. I mean, they have other guys, but those are my key guys for them. Luke Kennard got paid 4 years, $64 million. All right. Like, okay, Luke Kennard's a talented guy, but this guy, I don't see how you can justify giving him 4 years, $64 million. You could easily have made that a four-year, $40 million, maybe even a 3-year, $40 million. Like, man, I extend that money somehow, because I feel like you can't really play around now, especially with Kawhi being on an expiring contract, like him and Ibaka being on player options. I mean, they extended Paul George, but again, I don't know how that's going to go, but I still think this team's going to be dangerous, and they can set up a wall on the defense. Those wings are that's going to be probably the best wing defense in the league if those guys can stay healthy with Batum, Paul George, and Kawhi. Like, I don't know anybody who's going to want to be able to shoot or drive against that, because they're going to set up an iron curtain with the just massive arms they have just covering the court. Moving on to my top contender, and this is the team that I think is going to win it all, is the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are for real. If Kevin Durant comes back 100%, and it looks like he is 100%, I mean, that's enough for me to just say I can see them being a top 1 or 2 team. And the fact that they are the deepest team in the league, I think they are the deepest team in the league, just makes them that much better. And I honestly, I don't know how close it is. Like, just because they have 3 guys on their bench who could easily be a solid starting player for any decent or mediocre, even a contending franchise in the league. I mean, LeVert, Landry Shamet, and Jarrett Allen. Shamet was on the Clippers starting lineup last year. And then you look at Karis LeVert. This guy has been upgrading his game every year. I mean, their starting 5 is Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, Spencer Dinwiddie, and DeAndre Jordan. Joe Harris got better at shooting somehow. I don't know how you get better when you're already leading the league in percentage at one point of your career. And then Dinwiddie has been a guy who's been on a steady incline. I don't know how he's going to fit in that offense. I don't know how he's going to field, not necessarily being a second option, because I think he wanted to be at least a second option guy. He wants second option money, that is for sure. But I don't know how that's going to work out with this team. DeAndre Jordan is still a big physical guy who can defend the paint. And then you have Kevin Durant, who's like a condor out here. Like, he's going to be able to defend anybody he wants. So that team, that starting 5 is, I think, a championship-worthy starting 5. And then you look at the bench. You have, as mentioned before, LeVert, Shamet, Allen, Jeff Green, who started on the Rockets and was knocking down threes. And if you watch their playoffs, in the bubble, they looked great. Well, he looked great, at least. The Rockets, he looked good. And I think the fact that he can space the floor, he can get rebounds, and he can be physical inside is just going to be a game changer for that team. And then you have Tyler Johnson and Rodions Kurucs. Kurucs can shoot. Tyler Johnson was a starting caliber player in Miami at one point. He warranted I believe it was a 4-year, $64 million contract at some point. He never really lived all the way up to expectations, but this is a guy who can get you a bucket. He can get you a bucket, and that's what you need from a bench player, especially a contending team. So I just think this team is really dangerous, and I think they're the number ones, especially because LeBron's going into year 18. I'm not betting against LeBron, but I'm just saying, I don't know if I can go against the Nets right now, like, especially if you look at Kyrie Irving and KD finally having some decent chemistry. Like, those guys they've been labeled by the league and the media as just problematic guys. Like, I feel like they have something to prove, and I think this is just their year. This is just their year, and we're just gonna be able to watch greatness unfold. Now, of all the teams Vegas Insider kind of put odds on, I think the most disrespected team, I think in the odds makers and in the media, is going to be the Miami Heat. I think the Miami Heat are a team that's just so solid. The organization is so well run. Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, just those. These are the type of people that you should want heading up your organization. Like I would play for that team for my entire career if I was in the NBA. Like being able to be in South Beach, a great location with guys who know how to coach and run a basketball team, and you have a culture that is all about winning and doing what's best for the team. You have a guy like Jimmy Butler. You have guys like Goran Dragic, Bam Adebayo. Bam and Tyler Hero, they're just going to keep improving. They're still young guys. Like these guys, Bam was just 1 year out of the draft. I mean, Tyler Hero was a rookie last year. These guys are just going to keep getting better. And I mean, they added Maurice Harkless, Avery Bradley, and they drafted Precious Achiuwa, who I think Precious Achiuwa is a very strong, athletic wing, and I think he's going to be really good for them, especially in the interior, because when they lost Bam, they kind of didn't, they lost that sort of athletic, versatile edge that they had because he's a guy who can pass and facilitate and defend about 1 through 5, honestly, and I think Precious can give them that sort of edge that they need in terms of depth. So they're a really deep team, and I think they're a team that people are definitely counting out. Do I think they're going to win? I think they're like my 4th or 5th team that I would say could contend for the title this year, but I could definitely see them putting up a fight in the Eastern Conference Finals and somehow getting back to the finals. Like, I mean, Jimmy Butler proved people wrong last year. Jimmy Butler is a star player who needs respect, and I think the Heat are a team that we should be paying attention to. Those are my finals predictions. Those are my teams I think are going to be contending for a championship at the end of all this. And until next time, I'm going to be probably talking about some football later. But next episode coming in soon. See you guys later.